A simple one, I just filed all of my state filings and I did my annual reports. I got a postcard in Florida. It's $150. They give you like 45-day notice. If you don't do it within 45 days, they tack on $300 the first day of the following month. Like silly little things like that. Like that's double. That's total insanity. But you can't rely on them reminding you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like you're saying, like details matter, and the snowball effect is what happens. So like, I know like for us, we do DOT compliance, safety, driver files and things like that. So like, it just starts simple with the driver. Do they have the paperwork in the truck, like you mentioned? If they don't, or if that piece slips, okay, well, you're hiring new drivers and there's these certain requirements for driver files. Are they being done and are they stored properly? It might be a couple months, it might be even a year down the road, but you're going to see a small little snowball effect where maybe the next thing you see is a maintenance issue, and then it snowballs down further down the road. Oh, let me do an audit on your company, and then they look at everything and they go, oh, shoot. I thought you were doing everything right, employee, but it looks like during this audit, there's so many small mistakes that happens, and now you're facing $10,000 in fines, and then it snowballs into insurance, and the cost premiums go up. Hey everyone, and welcome to the podcast Caution Wide Right, brought to you by Compliance Navigation Specialists. I'm Luke, your host, and today we're going to talk about a topic that hits close to home for a lot of growing fleets: how to scale smart and not fast. And we've all seen it. A small fleet jumps from 5 to like 20 trucks overnight, and they're chasing big contracts in new lanes only to fold within a year. So what goes wrong? And more importantly, how do you avoid being that cautionary tale? Joining me today is someone who knows this space from the inside out, Sammy from Jano Logistics. Whether you've worked in the 3PL or freight brokers before or have no idea what they actually do, Sammy's here to break it down and share hard-won insights from the front lines of fleet support and logistics. Sammy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, so to kick things off, for listeners who might not know about you yet, can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started with Jano Logistics, and what got you into freight in the first place?
Sure, absolutely. So Sammy Janowitz, owner of Jano Logistics, DBA Unit Shipper 1763, as you can see behind me. We'll get into that in a moment. Basically, freight and logistics is the third. I'm 48 years old. It's my third job ever. First third of my career, I did real estate, family, construction business. We built master plan communities where we take a parcel anywhere from 50 to 150 acres, complete infrastructure, usually high-end houses. And we did do one 55 and over community where we built an apartment building, clubhouses and common area features and so forth. Then I started selling natural gas on the side and blew that up to a 10 statewide, almost 60 utility energy supply company. I came up with a creative niche where we would give people free, starting with commercial, and then we went into residential. We would give customers free LED lighting in exchange for buying their power from us. Very successful with that. Had, up until COVID, had 10 offices, 12 warehouses, over 30 vehicles, and 70, at our height, 77 direct employees, and an indirect sales force of over 300 door-to-door folks.
Yeah.
COVID hit. We moved from door-to-door into telesales, eventually got back into door-to-door once COVID opened up a little. And we really went into more residential with LED lighting, smart home products, and a subscription bundle. And then we brought in private equity. they brought on in a new CEO who was Houston based, and I was going to Houston once every 3 weeks. And at that time, I didn't have the ability to go there full time. And so we split up. And because I was so heavy in logistics, as I said before, this was a no-brainer. I actually, worth mentioning, sorry, I became a customer of Unishippers back in 2015. Looked to franchise it then, and then looked to franchise it actually 2 other times before now. It's actually funny because I was doing some consulting and looking at a couple of other opportunities. And the final time I called Unishippers, they were like, "Are you really going to do it this time? Or are you just talking to us to talk?" Because as you can see, I talk a lot. I'm like, "No, I'm fully on board. We're going to do it and have some fun." And that's where I've been since. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, very transactional, and definitely, fill a need for my customers. There are some that I don't talk too much. Everything's automated. And there are some that, I provide a real value in that I have a ton of experience, as I mentioned, and they can bounce ideas and questions off of me, and I give them valuable insight. I don't tell them what to do, but I make suggestions. And even not every time am I the right fit for them or for that particular job. And worth mentioning, I'm sorry, I totally skipped over this. I like to tell people I move things for customers from point A to point B, anything from parcel. I'm a UPS reseller, and I'm leveraging a $1 billion UPS contract, LTL, specialty, box truck, sprinter vans, partial trailers, full trailers, and I do air and ocean as well. So a lot of things. I do not do moving houses, moving offices, and I do not do moving auto.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense. That's a lot. And I know you work with fleets of lots of different sizes and companies from a lot of different sizes, in working with fleets or own the fleet before, or been a part of a fleet before, where you're help growing the company. And that's what I know I want to talk about today. And we see a lot of fleets growing from, like we mentioned, 5 to 20 almost overnight. And really it comes down to, hey, especially in like the freight market right now, they think, I want to diversify to be able to handle things, because maybe I'm dry edge, or I focus at the ports, but the tariffs are hitting, and after that influx of freight coming in, now it's maybe slowing down. So hey, what do I do? Diversify. Then it just becomes to, they're multiplying their fleet, maybe doing something that they're not maybe specializing in yet. And there's a lot of issues that happen where down the road, maybe it's a year down the road, they can't handle it anymore. And so what do you think, or why do you think that happens so often? They want to grow, they start to grow, and then they fail.
So the biggest reason is you have to have your customers fully vetted and make sure you're going to get paid. That's the number one. Are you going to get paid in 30 days? Sometimes the best business you get is the business you don't get. It's very competitive. Everyone wants to say yes to everyone. And it's sometimes you have to turn people away because you're just not going to get paid. So that's probably the biggest failure point that I see out there in fleet sizes shrinking, because they just can't sustain not getting paid or not getting paid quick enough. The other after that is really infrastructure needs. Every 5 to, I would say, and this you could argue about, but every really 5 to 10, probably less than, I'll go 5 to 8 vehicles, you kind of need, it kind of needs to operate as its own thing, unless you're running the same lanes for the same customers back and forth, which never happens. Meaning you have to have someone who's kind of in charge of those, just the day-to-day. Because if you don't, and you get to 20 vehicles, the failure point there is it's too many moving parts, and you're going to drown, and it's going to be awful, and it's not going to end well. So you have to be really careful, and you really have to have the right infrastructure. And it becomes tough also because in addition to the trend today of everyone, everyone's working harder for less money. That's across the board. But
For sure.
everyone is also looking, driving the price down. And with that, it's the older guys. I'm not even that old, but like the more seasoned guys like me, it's tougher to find jobs because people are like, well, I'll get someone fresh out of school for half the money, which is great in some regards. But in the instance you're talking about, scaling up and not having people with experience, and I'm talking about experience in multiple states, multiple, potentially vehicle types. Well, definitely vehicle types, because you're not going to have 20 vehicles that are all the same rig, right?
Right.
Different tariffs and fuels and rules and regulations. Like, it's a lot. I in particular don't like, I concentrate on, I like middle of the country, but like east of the country,
Right.
because I like dealing with people there because they'll talk to you, even if they're not going to use you, or if you're not the right, like, they don't like my New York shtick. They're like, they will say it nicely, but the deal is like, shut up, I can't deal with you, I'm not giving you the business. But you really have to know how to deal with people and kind of have a lot of experience putting things together. I'm a big, like, I love AI, but it's not the answer. You just, experience is the answer. So you got to be very, very careful with, it's the mid-size. Small is great and large is great, but that mid-size, that can make you wish you didn't get out of bed in the morning. You either got to get small or big is really the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. I know, like, I've talked to many fleets who have grown, and they say, I have headaches when we did this. If I were to redo this, I would change this because I had these headaches. When it came to COVID, YouTubers exploded, just being like, there's tons of money in trucking, get a truck, go make money. It's easy. I'm curious, especially for fleet growth, or even like, hey, it's not just being an owner operator. They're like, hey, go get 10 trucks now. What are some of those myths of fleet growth that just doesn't make sense that we've seen in the recent past?
So more is better, I would say. The big myth, like, just you can't answer your problems by throwing more trucks at it. It just doesn't work. You have to make what you have better and really scale up smart. And the grass isn't greener. So there's a great movie, or there's a movie, Get Shorty, and the nuts and bolts of it is all the mafia guys want to be film producers, and all the film producers want to be mafia guys, and that's how the movie goes. So in our world, what does that mean? All of the owner operators want to be brokers, and all of the brokers want to be owner operators. So it's really, really tough. Some of the best operators I know are that way because do they want to broker? Sort of, but they're more, I want to go on a load board to fill the volume I don't have. And they just want to keep what they're doing going and get good customers and get good routes and good service and just, make their money. And I think you brought up a good point. Like, YouTube has, like, go ask a kid these days, I want to be a YouTube influencer. And it's like, for every one guy, for every one Mr. Beast, there's millions of people that it's cost them money to be on YouTube. So that's the biggest myth, that there's no hard work cannot replace, like, don't get me wrong, you need luck, and can people get lucky? No question about it. Every day someone's winning a lottery and someone's winning millions, but it's not going to be you. And you're not going to solve your problems just by becoming ginormous. Could you be lucky? Absolutely. The biggest advice I would say is I leverage YouTube as a tool, and I watch some of these big influencers, like a Cody Sanchez, and her motto is buy a small business. Someone's retiring. So
Yep.
I would say that's a good strategy. Go find someone who has a truck, who's ready to come out of the truck, and you could buy their route. That's a smart way to grow. Or a Alex Mosey. He puts out great content. He kind of moved in a different direction. I think his stuff from 2-3 years ago is a little better than what he's doing now, but he helps people scale up. School of Hard Knocks. This guy goes around like chasing these millionaire and billionaire people. And some of these like things, like I literally send to my kids and I'm like, you got to see this 6-minute clip. Like they're giving for free on YouTube sage advice that I wish someone told me 30 years ago. And I'm just talking about like stupid, like, save your money. The biggest thing is like, save your money, like good, but like invest it where it could throw off a couple of bucks.
Exactly.
So it's, the myths are definitely out there, and you're not going to have overnight success no matter what you do. Could you get lucky and could it happen? Yes. The problem is with all of the social media, it's in your face, and do not ever assume that I saw this guy and he did, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, and I agree. Like a lot of this is, one, having that mentorship, having someone there that has gone through this or knows this a little bit. So you have someone to talk to that you can build, whatever it's the procedures, or if it's financing, or if it's whatever. This is especially true for owner operators. If they're going from a truck driver to owner operator, starting their own business, there's a lot to more than just driving a truck when you're an owner operator. You have like 10 different hats that you have to think about. But same thing when you're growing that fleet. Hey, I feel good. Maybe I'm still driving truck with five trucks. Maybe I'm still one of the drivers. I'm still managing the company. But once you start going to that 20 size fleet, that team behind you has to be so focused and procedures in place. We're going to touch on a couple things, but I'm curious, when things break down, we talked a little bit about like finances, 30 to 45 day payments. Hopefully that happens, but expect that delay, right? But what are sort of those first cracks that appear? If you grow too quickly, I doubled the size of my fleet. Where do those cracks tend to show first? And I know finances is one of them. Where else?
Cash flow is the hugest. Yep. I'm trying to think of things that don't relate to cash flow, like fueling up with diesel, but outside of that, it's really, then it becomes personnel, and, you could have the best, most trustworthy people in the world, when left unchecked and when left without a procedure and without them understanding that there are rules that they have to follow from the get-go, they start to sway, and that's when things start to break down. And then when it happens with one, it becomes a trickle effect, and then you could have the greatest person in the world that is taking advantage of you that you didn't even realize, and then they're running your company for you, but not the way you want them to, and it's like you're left with a mess, and you have to like reevaluate everything from the get-go. So mentorship, Luke, like you're saying, is like so incredibly important. And that's another thing, like all these guys on YouTube, like plenty of them say, I'm not the smartest person. I don't need to be the smartest person. I need to reach out to the smartest people to help me. And people love to talk, and they love to give out help and be a mentor. And calling someone, texting someone, or social media someone, and I'm not saying about someone that is an influencer that has 1 million followers. I'm saying someone that's in a better position than you. You can't think of them as a competitor anymore. You got to think of them as a partner, almost in a sense, like a mentor partner, and just reach out. Hey, you're here, I'm here. I know we're competitors, but I also I want to learn from you. Like, help me understand where you went wrong and what you would have changed and done. And so what other cracks in the system could there be? I mean, I would say the personnel is one big one, and the vehicles and the fleet itself, just having checklists upon lists and lists for days and making sure everything's done when it's supposed to be. There are so many requirements and so many easy ways not to get dinged. You got to know, and you got to vet your customers, again, not financial side. What are you carrying? Like, you got to know what I understand. A full truckload, it's less critical than LTL. They're not looking to ding you for overweight, and they're not looking to ding you for a class reclass and anything else that they could ding you for. And I'm not saying that that's the LTL model at all. I'm just saying those are things to be careful of. If you have the wrong class or the wrong weight, it's going to be a problem and you're going to get dinged. What I'm saying is, on partial and full, you really have to know your customers and know the cargo and know what you're working with. And it's a tough conversation to have, because you don't want to lose customers, you don't want to tick them off, and you don't want them going to the next guy, which it's super easy to do. And that's the model, because you're just providing a commodity. But you really need to sell it as, hey, I'm looking out for your best interest. I know it's a trailer, but I need to understand, how is this wrapped? What does it look like? Is it the right weight? What are your pallet dimensions? What are your class and what are you carrying? And what I try and do is I try and figure that out for my customer, and then figure out their lanes and not have to press them so much for it, because they don't want to be, they don't want to be inundated with that. So you have to come up with some system. I'm a little old school and archaic. I'm, a note until it gets input on the computer, and then it's either on my internal load board, or I leverage Google Drive, but I have a very specific way, because you got to get all your data straight. You got to, you got to get your BOLs, you got to get your POD, like you got to have everything. So, that's the failure. You got to have lists and you got to have checklists, and everyone's got to know what they're doing before they're even hired. And the same thing with the vehicles, like you need records. I'm a big proponent of taking pictures of the registration sticker, taking pictures of the inspection sticker. Again, it depends on what state the vehicles are and so forth. Taking pictures, I want to see where are my logs in my truck? Where do you put them? Where's my first aid kit? Where is, in January, you went through and show me the garbage can with the expired first aid stuff that you threw out? Where's the expiration on your fire extinguisher? All this stuff, it's got to be dummied down so that a routine traffic stop is just that, it's routine. Where is your inspection? Do you have a checklist before you go in the truck every day? And do you know if you're running from West Coast to East Coast or vice versa, when is your insurance up? You should know that offhand. When is your registration? When is your inspection? Everyone should know everything about every vehicle. And those are the breakdowns where it's like, oh, just go. We got to get this load run. You got to, growth is good, but you got to be very careful, and you got to be watching all of the details all the time. And, you got to find the right way to present it to everyone where you're not driving everyone crazy, but, you need reference. You need everything behind. You can't see it because it's behind this screen, but I have like old school thumbtack board with like all kinds of information. I call it oxygen. I have one, ongoing sheet oxygen, because without oxygen, we die. So without my oxygen sheet, my business died. What's on there? Name, address, phone number, dot, bonding, insurance, surety bond, everything I could have every step of the way. And the end of every month, or really the beginning, the first calendar day of every month, I literally have a calendar meeting for myself to just recheck what's coming up and know what's due. When do things expire? A simple one, I just filed all of my state filings, and I did my annual reports. I got a postcard in Florida. It's $150. They give you like 45-day notice. If you don't do it within 45 days, they tack on $300 the first day of the following month. Like silly little things like that. Like that's double. That's total insanity. But you got to be. You can't rely on them reminding you. So that's
Oh, for sure. I mean, like you're saying, like details matter, and the snowball effect is what happens. So, like I know, like for us, we do DOT compliance, safety, driver files, and things like that. So, like, it just starts simple with the driver. Do they have the paperwork in the truck, like you mentioned? Um, if they don't, or if that piece slips, okay, well, you're hiring new drivers and there's these certain requirements for driver files. Are they being done and are they stored properly? No one's going to know if that has been done accurately or what. That might snowball a little bit down the road. But if that person's overwhelmed and isn't doing it to the compliant side of things, it might be a couple months, it might be even a year down the road, but you're going to see a small little snowball effect where maybe the next thing you see is a maintenance issue. Are you handling your maintenance well? A maintenance issue pops up. Maybe there's a violation there that happens because that's what gets you at roadside is some kind of maintenance thing. And then it snowballs down further down the road. Oh, let me do an audit on your company. And then they look at everything and they go, oh, shoot, I thought you were doing everything right, employee, but it looks like during this audit, there's so many small mistakes that happens. And now you're facing $10,000 in fines. And then it snowballs into insurance and, the cost premiums go up. And that's beyond just the growth of the premium and the growth of your fleet. But now you got violations. You got a risk. You're a riskier looking company, and it just snowballs into these extra costs that if you're not prepared for, if you don't, if you didn't have your things in place, it can ruin a company.
Yeah, you have to. So a couple of specific incidences. One I remember. So I traveled. I had a heavy travel schedule. So I was in the city, New York City, 2 or 3 days a week. One day I was in our main warehouse hub in New Jersey. And then another day I would either be in like Baltimore for the day, Boston for the day, Columbus, Ohio for the day. I've done Chicago and Florida in single day trips. Actually, funny side story. I had a trip with all the discount, airfare. I went to Florida for a day, 6 a.m. flight back, whatever it was, 6 or 7 o'clock flight back at night. And I go, it was cheaper for me to travel to Florida for the day than it is for me to get to New York City for the day. It wasn't really, but it was like, that's how cheap, midweek, whatever. But I was in the Jersey warehouse and someone, obviously I was the first employee and we had 77 employees. So someone I knew, an employee driver had to switch vehicles, whatever reason. And who's standing around talking to me outside. And I'm like, Mac, what are you waiting for? And he goes, oh, before I start the ignition, the insurance in this vehicle is not current. So, we go inside, takes 2 seconds, print out a copy, get it, and whatever. So the point is, that's the mentality that needs to be instilled. Someone, it's not your truck. You go in there and you check the credentials. Look at the windshield, look in the glove box, take a walk around, anything out of the ordinary. Another thing that we used to do, certain like New York City specifically, you could go on the website and you could check a VIN against traffic tickets and traffic violations once a week. You need someone who's like a copy and paste. So we were in energy and there's a lot of data, a lot of EDI going back and forth. So we had one of the EDI guys, part of their job was an hour on a Friday, you'd have to take 30 VINs and, you would get this vehicle is in Florida. It's not even in New York. And it's like, you just have to check it. Because another thing that happens now with all the electronics that are out there, you'll get a ticket for, I've had this on countless, I don't want to say a lot, but it's not uncommon. You could get a ticket from an automated machine or an easy pass where you could prove that it's not your vehicle and your vehicle wasn't there, but you will get dinged for it. And you got to get ahead of that, especially since you may not get first notice. So it's just so much minutia like that.
Oh, it's the same thing with the FMCSA. If you get a violation and if you're not checking your either CSA scores or these violations that kick in under your report, I mean, if it's wrong information, you have the right to data queue it, to challenge it and show the paperwork and prove that that's false. But you only have so much, potentially so much amount of time to do that, or to respond to a violation, or having a corrective action plan if something does go wrong. You only have a certain amount of time before insurance is going to see that and go whoop, price goes up. So you have to have those processes in place, like you were saying. But go ahead, keep going.
You have to document everything.
Yeah.
Take pictures and send emails. And a big part of that is we used a company called Samsara, which is a dash mount camera inside and outside, and it literally saved us from 2 that I recall specifically frivolous lawsuits where they're just waiting for vehicles to come and have a collision with someone may have. We literally had a Samsara. The guy's door was bashed in and he pulled out. We had no choice. Our driver hit him. And then he's coming after me. No. Here's a crystal clear video clip. So, like I said, just you have procedures and you take pictures. The vehicles do get parked. This was a big thing that I tried to instill with people when I got I'm under a time crunch. I got to go here. I go, great. At some point, you're going to park the vehicle, whether it's to fuel up or to get something to eat, and just take an extra minute and take a picture and either text or email. And that's another thing, depending on who the employee is, you have to go at their tolerance.
Yeah.
And I had some guys where I don't feel comfortable, this, that, the other thing. I go, okay, I'm going to go buy a Polaroid camera. And they think they're joking around because I'm a crazy person myself. And they would be, all right, yeah, get a Polaroid. Yeah, I'll do it. If you're going to do it, I'm going to get a Polaroid, because they think it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Call up Uncle Jeff Bezos, and the next day they're like, you seriously got a Polaroid camera? I go, I'm not joking. Here's a Polaroid. Here's 3 Sharpies, 1 for you, 1 for the vehicle, and 1 in your bag for when you lose them. Take a picture, write the date down, and then when you see someone, you just give it to them and you're done. That's I'm not asking to save the world here. It's very simple, but you just have to drill that mentality, and then that translates into people not ripping you off, and everyone knows you're watching. You're watching, but you're not watching. You know what I mean? You're not on top of them, but they know you're watching the shop.
Most truckers are struggling to manage their safety and compliance for their fleets. It can be overwhelming. And that's where our DOT Compliance Motor Carrier Program comes in. It's specifically designed for long-haul interstate carriers. Picture this, an entire compliance team dedicated to making your life easier. How? By simplifying your DOT compliance and managing things like driver qualification files, new driver onboarding, vehicle maintenance, drug and alcohol testing, and even your fuel taxes. Your team will also be holding quarterly driver safety meetings, monitoring your CSA scores, and taking care of any licensing and credential renewals. With that said, we all know DOT audits are inevitable, but what is important is that you are fully prepared for when they do come. And with our DOT Compliance Motor Carrier Program, you have a full team to support you throughout an audit. So, don't let a few small mistakes lead to audits, fines, or anything else that will hurt your business. Let CNS help. If you want more information, just call or email now, or you can fill out the form below and one of our DOT compliance specialists will help you out. Let CNS be your partner in success, saving you money and ensuring a smoother journey on the road.
You guys help with making sure that the freight's there, that they're got the loads that they need to have. And I know we help with making sure that, again, the compliance is in place, the safety, the minutiae data that they have to handle is in place. When do you see the best time to seriously start looking at outsourcing, whether it's to you guys or whether it's someone like us, as that fleet grows, using a third party?
Early and often.
Yeah.
Because, so really you could start with 1 vehicle. Really, I would say 3 to 5 vehicles is the time to start. but it's always great to have an outside opinion, even if you think you're doing everything right, like, and you very well could be. Okay, if you pay someone to come in and do an audit, first of all, you do it early, so you're saving money because you're not doing a 10 vehicle audit, you're doing maybe a 1 or 2 or very small audit, and so it costs you less. And if you get one thing that you're not doing, it pays for itself, right?
Yeah.
It's also backup documentation. I've seen this on countless lawsuits. You do it early, you do it right away, and it becomes it saves you from a future problem. You're creating the culture from the get-go. I'm not suggesting to do the audit like every whatever, but you really gotta, you gotta pinpoint, you do it early, you do it 1-3 vehicles. Okay. And then you set, once I get over 5, I'm going to do it. Or once I start going into this state, or I move into this warehouse, or just, you got to figure out what the metrics are. And, it always stings paying for something that you don't think you really need, or you think you're really doing it. But this industry, like you said, the snowball is no joke. And the bigger cautionary tale is everything's changing. Look at what's going on with the tariffs right now. It's bananas. And you know what? If you pay someone to do an audit, it just works in your favor if anything does ever happen.
So as the fleet grows, tell me a little bit how, like, Jano Logistics and you guys stepping in and making sure that the trucks keep moving. What does that look like on that day-to-day basis? Hey, I need help, and you guys start supporting them. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
So you gotta, again, it all comes down to vetting your customers properly before they come your customers. And I'm into a very, and don't get me wrong. Well, let me take a backtrack. Don't allow someone to become a customer that you've never spoken to, meaning email only. And it sounds like, who the heck would do that? I know multiple people that have literally emails back and forth, never spoke to the person, never had this kind of interaction. That is a hard rule. Like, if someone thinks, oh no, I only do emails, no. I need to talk to you. If you're not willing to talk to me, then I'm not willing to take you on as a customer and demonstrate the value that I'm going to provide.
Exactly.
So you talk to them and you understand. I always go with always 2 questions: how much and when, right? When can you do it? How much is it going to be? At the end of the day, that's all anyone cares about. But along with that, you need to understand from your customers, don't tell me about the success, because everyone's going to, I did this lane, I called this guy, I got that guy, great. Tell me about the problems you've had. Who have they been with, and how have they happened, and give me a little insight into that. And without a doubt, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, and then they're going to get into telling you like these crazy stories, and that helps build and craft the relationship, but it really helps you understand what they really need, and, most customers, sometimes it's price only, sometimes it's value only. Do they need insurance? Do they need guaranteed service? What do they need? What are they looking for? Who are their customers? Like, who are they going to be delivering to? Do you need an appointment? Do you need a lift gate? Do you, there's just so many variables. The best thing to do is not bombard them with, is it limited access? Is it whatever? Let them tell you more about their business. If you have the ability, obviously everything is very remote these days, but, tomorrow I'm going to see a customer. Do I need to see a customer? No, but I have something else to do 40 minutes away from him. You know what? I do a lot of business with the guy. I'm going to go show my face. His people know me. They know me. And that's the relationship. And with him specifically, I do a majority of his freight. I don't do everything. He ships not a lot. He ships some stuff to Amazon. and he's got a great rapport with someone who does that with him. And he's told me he'll give me the business. I go, everything's going great with us. Amazon can be, if you have someone that it's working well, go with them.
Yep.
He had a trade show, and I love doing trade shows. This was, it's a lighting guy, of course. I have a lot of lighting customers. This is Light Fair, which is the biggest lighting trade show. It's a fraction of what it used to be, but we're going through the motions. And, I'm giving him a lot of advice. But my first question was, don't they have their own guy? And then a week later, he's like, I'm like, I have in my calendar, and I utilize calendar a lot on my interactions. I make a note, and then I'll put a calendar invite for a quick 15-minute, follow up with so-and-so about so-and-so. And again, there are plenty of customers that don't want to get bombarded with emails, text, calls, but I like to find out what methodology for my customer works best. And that's what if I some people love getting an email. My load is here. It's going to be this time, et cetera, et cetera. But this particular guy, I said to him, he felt so bad. I go, do not feel bad. This is business. My job is to get you the best situation that you can. Just pay Light Fair's guy. He's like, I hate doing it. It's your job. You're my guy. I go, Nick, do you want to have, when you get to Vegas, do you not want to have a problem? He goes, no, I don't need problems. I'm like, just do it. So that's the, it's all relationship based. What was I was going off on a tangent as usual about something with the freight. No, you have to know your customers, you have to know their customers, and you have to know who and what's available and their tolerance. And this is something I was very good at my last job. You can tell people no and have them still like you. It's all about how you deliver the message.
Yep.
But when you figure out what works best for someone, I try and go to that methodology. The guy, my customer I'm speaking about, this one in particular, it's all text. He will send me a text with a quote, and I will then in turn put it into an email. And it's just the way it is. Sometimes he just calls me from the car, and it's just easier because he knows I'm going to put it in an email, because memorialize everything. Relationships and communication. I had an old at the energy company, one of my CEOs, two things. All I care about: relationships and communication. It is so important, and no harm can come from just sending an email and letting a customer know.
Yeah, good or bad news. Beyond that. Well, that's where you get a lot more of that respect too, of being like, hey, at least they're being honest, whatever the issue is. But more information or, fast information has never been sort of a pain point more than waiting or not saying anything. And then eventually it pops up and it's like, now all hell breaks loose.
That's right. Yeah. And you have to know, I'll go so far as to say, I have to place with my carriers depending on, I have some customers they want to hit that tracking button, and they want to know exactly where their stuff is at all times. And you just have to put them with the most reliable carriers that could fulfill that need. So that again comes with experience. But the more information that's out there, the better. I don't want to hear, I forgot to turn the phone on and I can't get the app to work and all this stuff. No, that doesn't work. We're in 2025. Get it right.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned, it's having those right people in place, but not just the right people in place, experienced people in place. And I'm curious, I don't know if you were a part of any of the recruiting process or anything like that, but what do you look for, or how do you find those right type of people, whatever it is?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I was chief of staff at the energy company, I had someone who ran HR that, really reported to me, even though she shouldn't have, but I had a great rapport with her, and chief of staff. So it's very tricky. You don't know where you could find your best talent from.
Yeah.
word of mouth and, existing relationships is usually, it can backfire and it can be a little pitfally, but generally speaking, that's the greatest. Job boards, there's just so many people out there. And in certain instances, recruiters or headhunters, in freight, there's a lot of people out there specifically recruiting for drivers. And, I'm a big trial and error guy. I will spend money knowing that it may be a dead end. And I will say spending money on things like that and having it be a dead end is more likely to happen than being successful. But there are some great services out there for recruiting. There's one in particular that I know that a friend uses. They're not specific to freight, but they're very good at understanding. They get on a video call like this and give me from A to Z and how I can bring you the right people so that I'm not wasting your time. Because it can be a major waste of time. So that's another place that it's great to outsource. Friends and family and existing people working can only get you so far. That's another thing that I would definitely say outsourcing is, there are some great services out there. It could also be very challenging. It's tough. Trial and error is the short answer.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Trends moving forward, whether it's in the 3PL space, freight brokerage, other things that you see with, whether it's the economy or with fleets in general, with technology. What are some of those trends that you see happening now or down the road that's like, we should pay attention to it?
Yeah, so the biggest trends, I'm a big fan of AI. Obviously it's a buzzword. Definitely cramping Google style, chat and perplexity and all these things. But they're just, you got to look at AI as a tool, just like you look at the truck to be a tool. It's just a tool to help you do things faster when applicable. Great resources. The things to look out for are the, I hate to say it this way, Uber Freight. And because I've had customers that they send me the Uber Freight booking and I'm like, this is great for the service that you need. It's not going to work. They're going to come when they come. It's going to move when it can move, Those are the trends, things that are on technology, self-driving vehicles. My wife just came back from California for work, and she's telling me that it is commonplace. I forget the name of the company, where these self-driving cars and everyone there is freaking out because they'll hit people even though they're not supposed to and whatever. So, obviously the technology, you got to watch, and I hate to say it, the political, you got to be conscious of what's going, drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
So oil prices are going down. Freight and parcel and importing is not going anywhere. It's only increasing. Amazon and now, Walmart has a big push to do it. That is only increasing the, for lack of a better term, laziness, or let's go, convenience of boom, 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 it's there. That's, for me, could not be a better time to be in freight and logistics and just coming up with more creative ways to get it done, sharpening the pencil and getting equal, if not better service, because that's the level of expectation from the consumer. And I don't mean consumer like, residential. I mean, business to business. Consumers are expecting a cheaper price with better service. So leveraging technology is really, and I don't know what it is. And some of the smartest people, I saw a piece on Mark Cuban and he's like, invest in AI. And it's like, okay, what do I invest in? And he goes, I don't know, because the dominant leader hasn't been there yet. We don't know. Is it chat? Is it Google? Who knows? But just leveraging technology to help you, do better out there.
I and I'll add in on that. Like honestly, like we use ChatGPT for a lot of various reasons, and the way that I like to look at it, especially for fleets, is what is it that is difficult for you? What is it that you have a lot of questions about? And I bet you, like a lot of times for us, it's, hey, I'm not very good at communicating with customers. I don't know what to say, or clients or whatever. Okay, plug in what you're looking for, with a client, and then plop that into ChatGPT to give you an email, to send away. Look it over, make sure you're happy with it, but challenge ChatGPT with exact specifics of things like this. Other people are doing the same thing, so it has a database of pretty darn good information. And if you're looking for advice, hey, if I want to grow my fleet, what do I need to do? It'll plop in quite a bit of information. I don't know if I would say use it as like a quote unquote mentor, but use it to double check things, or to, add that extra layer of, okay, I feel good that there is at least a starting point of a plan that then I can break in deeper. If it's policies, and if you have a new employee that you want to focus on certain things, have it write up a list of what are those tasks could look like. If you're a person that's wearing 10 different hats, what would that, if you were to put that hat down, what's that list of activities, and have chat help be able to write that kind of stuff down. I use that all the time for sort of that starting point, and then you can have a way to grow, or at least something to look at that's tangible, especially if you don't have someone, to be able to talk to that's gone through the the grind of it all.
Yeah, no, I mean, that latter part of that. So first of all, I agree with everything you're saying. The latter part of what you're saying, that's why you need an audit, and that's why you need to pay someone to come in and help you for this. But I'm a big list guy, and it's very helpful resource to help you manage, create, and come up with the right list. But it's not going to replace where are your books?
Yep.
Where are you? Like, it's never going to replace that. And the other thing it's never going to replace is, so you have a new driver come on, you paid a service, you vetted him, it's the right fit, going to start, you're ready to go. Sit them down and have a conversation and try and create a rapport and a relationship. Understand a little about that person, their needs, what they're doing there, what they expect out of the company. And when you have, you need to have them sign quite a few documents when they're onboarded. But go through, don't just make it, here's the W-4, here's this. Explain to them, this is why you're signing this. This is what this means. This is how we operate. So then when there's an expectation of them telling you, oh, my registration is up next month, it's create the culture where they feel like they're part of the team, not just say, hey, I'm just transporting stuff from A to B. No one cares about me. No one likes it. Like, no, it's a team effort here, and really try and foster that to then also give them the best experience there. And that, the machines can only assist. They can't do any of that at all. Not yet, at least. But we're decades away from that.
Yeah, we completely agree. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. Where can listeners learn more about Jano Logistics? If they need help, where can they find you? And what's your best contact information?
Sure. So the website, it's offline right now, but janologistics.com. Just call me. I'm always here. Call or text me, 516-322-6993. That's always the best way. 516-322-6993. Or email me. Email is very simple. Sammy, SAMMY, at janologistics.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for just all the different advice, how to grow and what to look for and look out for. Definitely appreciate your time. So thanks again for joining me. And as always, stay safe out there.
Bye.